Hey, welcome back to Math with Patrick and Quill again. I'm finally back home. Today is August 15th, and we're solving problem number 227 from the Daily Epsilon calendar. And as a casualty for my trip, I am missing the pen component to my drawing pad. So today I will have to be using my mouse as my pencil. So pardon any poor handwriting this time around. Um, well, we still need to figure out why the answer to today's problem is 15, because that matches today's date. And in this calendar, we are always solving for x if we're, not given any other instructions. So this x right here should be the number 15. And it does say that x is greater than 0, and that's great because 15 is greater than 0. And that does kind of suggest to me that maybe there is a negative number solution to this problem as well. So the way I'm seeing this is it's the absolute value of 4 minus x plus 11, and that's equal to 22. And with the absolute value bars, essentially anytime you have something negative on the inside of these absolute value bars, it just turns positive. That being said, if you have an expression like x minus 4 and you have absolute value bars, please don't think that all you need to do is turn the negative signs positive, because the way to interpret this is different. You'd have to think like, all right, what happens when x is a certain number? Let's say x is negative 2, just for example. Then we'd evaluate the inside. We get negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. And then ultimately the absolute value of negative 6 is then 6. So whenever you have these variable expressions and absolute value bars, you need to think in terms of like what values might x take, and then what happens after we do the subtraction in the middle before we start thinking about the absolute value. So for here, I do see that the absolute value of some quantity, I'm kind of hiding this for myself right now, the absolute value of some quantity plus 11 is going to be equal to 22. And this tells me that either that quantity plus 11 is just the number 22, because the absolute value of a number is just, or any positive number is just itself. Or it's possible that this inside part is the number negative 22, right? Because we saw from earlier that we could take the absolute value of negative 22 and get positive 22. So this a plus 11 could be either 22 or negative 22. Not sure which. Could be both. Well, it couldn't be both at the same time, but it could be either. And so doing a little bit of algebra right here, we can just subtract 11 from both of these numbers, and we can see that this quantity here, I'm just calling it a for now, could be 11. Or it's possible that this quantity is equal to negative 33, because I'm subtracting the 11 from both sides here. And it turns out that this a all along was just the absolute value of 4 minus x. So I could just put that back here. So the absolute value of 4 minus x could be 11, or the math says the absolute value of 4 minus x could be negative 33. However, we both know that absolute value bars will turn any quantity on the inside non-negative. Like, I guess if we have a 0 on the inside, the absolute value of 0 is still just 0. But this equation on the right side of the screen right now just doesn't really make sense to me, because there's no way for me to take the absolute value of a quantity and get a negative result. So I can fully ignore what's happening on that side of the screen, because there's no way we could find that value of negative 33. So we are back at the same kind of spot right here, where we have the absolute value of something being equal to a number. And so that means that the something is either just the number itself, or maybe the 4 minus x is the negative version of that number. And then all we got to do here is solve for x. So maybe on the left-hand side, let's subtract 4 from both sides. And then, wow, that 7 is really long. Again, I'm using a mouse. And then we should negate both sides, and then we get negative 7 as our value for x. So it turns out this is the negative solution that I kind of hinted at earlier that we should rule out because x is supposed to be positive today. So instead, I will subtract the 4 from both sides of this equation. That's supposed to be a 15 instead. And then once I negate both sides, we can see that x is indeed equal to 15, and that is today's date. So kind of starting from the top, we can see that if we plug in the 15 right here, we will get the absolute value of 4 minus 15. That's going to be the absolute value of negative 11, which is the number positive 11. So once we substitute this with the number 11, we can see that the absolute value of 22 is just 22. So there we go. I think we're all done. X is 15. And, the mouse worked kind of nicely. Maybe I should actually put the bottom part on it. That'll be there for the next video. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.